The Big Ten kicks off in 2 days. We break it down on the Voice of College Football. Mark Rogers TV here, the Voice of College Football. Please like the videos, comment below, give us your thoughts on Big Ten football for 2020, and of course these Week 1 matchups. Share the videos on social media. There are people out there that don't know who I am. Can you believe that? Let them know that we're here talking college football every day. All right, and of course subscribe, hit the bell for the notifications. That way you know when we're going live, which is just about every day. We will go live after this one. Friday night, Illinois at Wisconsin. It was the biggest point spread upset of 2019 when Wisconsin was undefeated playing at Illinois, and the Illini pulled off the upset as a 32-point dog, winning that one. Well, Illinois is about a 20-point underdog against Wisconsin. It's a Friday night in Camp Randall Stadium, but it won't be jumping and rocking, and we won't have the jump marathon deal at the end of the third quarter this time, but we will be playing football. All right. We've got Graham Mertz playing quarterback for Wisconsin. We've seen him a number of times. He's an Elite 11 winner in 2018. Gatorade High School Football Player of the Year, taking over a quarterback for the injured Jack Cohn. Garrett Groshek seems to be in line as the next Wisconsin running back, at least as the starter, but expect running back by committee for the Badgers. 4 new defensive linemen in play for Illinois. That does not bode well for Lovie Smith and company against a Wisconsin offensive line that is always one of the best in the nation, especially in running the football. Also, Illinois lost all 3 of its top rushers. On the offensive side, they combined for 1,500 yards. Illinois-Wisconsin, we will do post-game instant analysis live right here at Mark Rogers TV, the Voice of College Football. Let's move on to the big one that I'm anticipating on Saturday night. We'll go live after this one, too. Michigan-Minnesota. It's my favorite game of the week. Minnesota opened as a slight favorite. The money has gone to Michigan. Michigan now a 3-point favorite in this one. It is, of course, for the Little Brown Jug. Joe Milton might be the wild card player of the Big Ten, not just Michigan football, but the entire Big Ten, maybe the entire college football nation, considering that Michigan is looking for a breakout, standout, dynamic quarterback. They haven't had one, really an NFL-type quarterback, since 2007 when Chad Henne moved on to the NFL and the Miami Dolphins. He, of course, not a dynamic quarterback, but certainly had the arm for it. And since then, Michigan quarterback play has been pedestrian. And Jim Harbaugh, much has been made of him failing to develop a quarterback that he's recruited there at Michigan. This would be the first one right here. Joe Milton, Shea Patterson, transfer. Jake Rudock, transfer. Wilton Spate, none of them a Harbaugh signee. So on one hand, you've got Milton, the wild card, completing 47% of his passes in high school, but the 15th rated dual threat quarterback in his class. Won the competition over Luke McCaffrey, or Dylan McCaffrey, apparently, because Dylan McCaffrey has now hit the transfer portal. On the other side, you have the bastion of stability at quarterback for Minnesota in Tanner Morgan. 30 touchdowns, only 7 interceptions last year. He gets his favorite target back from opting out. Rashad Bateman, 60 catches, 11 touchdowns last year. And Chris Autman-Bell against a Michigan secondary that is extremely talented but inexperienced other than their leader, Dax Hill. I believe Michigan has, based on experience and talent, the best defensive line in the Big Ten, but you got to think Ohio State's going to have something to say about that. Aiden Hutchinson, Carlo Kemp and company, Twitty Pay up front as well for Michigan. They are stacked. Cam McGrone is the leading linebacker. It's a Michigan defense that Minnesota most likely will not be able to run on. So if Tanner Morgan has time, he's going to go after that inexperienced secondary. Michigan, Minnesota, game of the week in the Big Ten, and maybe nationally as well. The big brand name game is, of course, Nebraska at Ohio State. All sorts of awards and trophies and consensus All-Americas and national championships between these two schools all time. But it's been a mismatch recently. 2 years ago in Columbus, the Buckeyes had to fight off a 4-win Nebraska team to win 36-31. The Buckeyes put them away, though, 38-0 at half, 48-7 as they cruised home to victory. Jeff Okudah had 2 picks. And, of course, Justin Fields had his way against Nebraska in Lincoln last year. This time around, the Buckeyes have opened as a 21-point favorite, and the betting money going the Scarlet and Gray's way, as you could imagine, up to 26 points. Adrian Martinez, will he get it done this year? Heisman candidate, 1 year. The next offseason, fighting for his job, and he wins it over one Luke McCaffrey. Adrian Martinez, 10 touchdowns, 9 picks last year. We're waiting for Scott Frost's offensive genius to kick in at Nebraska. They weren't awful offensively last year. Let's see. They were 5th in the Big Ten in yardage, 7th in scoring. Frost obviously was the mastermind at Oregon when they went to a national championship game and then went to UCF with Mackenzie Milton and that high-powered offense. Really, the only concerns for the Buckeyes coming into this one would be no concerns necessarily with Nebraska, but the 2020 season. Running back, who's going to be the standout? They've got plenty of depth. Steele Chambers, Marcus Crowley, Master Teague, and Trey Sermon, of course. DeMario McCall trying to get into the mix as well. And the linebacking is getting better from a down unit in the 2017 and 18 seasons. And, of course, the secondary's high on talent, but a bit thin on depth after losing Amir Reap. All right, it's Nebraska and Ohio State. We got an interesting one in Bloomington. Consider last year that Indiana went to Happy Valley, took on a top 10 Penn State team, only lost by 7, 34-27. 2 years ago, Trace McSorley had to use his legs on the final drive to extend Penn State to a win, 33-28, as they ran out the clock. So Indiana's given typically Ohio State, not last year, but typically the Buckeyes, Michigan, 2 overtime games in the last few years, and Penn State fits. Indiana coming off that 8-5 year. The Bowl collapse in the fourth quarter against Tennessee, losing by 1 point. Sean Clifford needs to play better against better defenses. Even against this Indiana crew last year, he was only 11 of 23. He completed 50% against Iowa, 53% against Minnesota, 58% against the Buckeyes, but only 71 yards in 3 quarters, 56% against Michigan, though he threw 3 touchdowns and no picks. Sean Clifford, for Penn State to win the Big Ten, has to play better against the better teams. Journey Brown, breakout star, Heisman, dark horse coming into the season. Unfortunately, it looks like he may miss 2020, a medical condition that's not been revealed. Penn State loaded at running back with Noah Cain and Devin Ford, but Journey Brown tore up Memphis for 200-plus yards in the Cotton Bowl and was really the go-to guy the back half of the season in 2019. Who did Indiana beat last year? Yeah, Tom Allen. It was impressive going 8-4 in the regular season, but their 2 biggest wins, Nebraska 38-31, Purdue double overtime. So we'll see what Michael Penix, who's taken over for Peyton Ramsey at quarterback for Indiana, he had the higher ceiling, less experience, less consistent, but the higher ceiling for Indiana football. IU hosting Penn State could be interesting. Penn State down to a 6.5-point favorite in this one. It's Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Like, comment, share the videos on social media, and of course subscribe right here and get everybody you know, college football fans that you know, even if you don't know them, if they're on social media, you tell them that we are here every day talking college football and bring them here. Tell them to sub to Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. All right. Iowa at Purdue, they played a barn burner 2 years ago in West Lafayette. Could be more of the same this year. The Hawkeyes are a 3-point pick. Spencer Petras looks to be the starting quarterback at Iowa, 20th rated quarterback in his class. He's apparently beaten out Alex Padilla for the starting job. Look at the Iowa quarterbacks who have had first-time starts under Kirk Ferentz. So these are, since 1999, the more recent quarterbacks and how they've turned out at Iowa. And we're talking about very good college quarterbacks here. Some of them moved on to the NFL and held a clipboard for a few years. Nathan Stanley, of course, now a member of the Minnesota Vikings. C.J. Beathard in the league. Jake Rudock, James Vandenberg. Ricky Stanzi with the Kansas City Chiefs for a number of years. Drew Tate, Nathan Chandler as well was a fine quarterback there at Iowa. And Brad Banks, who led the Hawkeyes to the 2002 Orange Bowl. So Spencer Petras might be in line as another first-year Iowa quarterback who's going to do big things in Iowa City. All right. He only had 11 pass attempts last year. He's a redshirt sophomore. Jeff Brom going to miss the game due to contracting COVID. Purdue hosting Iowa. The Hawkeyes coming off a 10-3 season, of course, replacing a lot on defense as well. Maryland, Northwestern. Interesting to see that the Wildcats are up to an 11-point favorite because they have trouble scoring 11 points. Both teams went 3-9 last year. So, Maryland, talk about scoring issues. They only scored 20-plus points 2 of their final 10 games last year. Who's going to be their starting quarterback? They've got a Tagovailoa that could be an option. Talia and his brother is going to start for the Dolphins this week in replacing Ryan Fitzpatrick. Or you got Legendre, who was a top 10 quarterback in his class coming out just a couple years ago. On the Northwestern side, we talked about Penn starting at Indiana, taking over for Peyton Ramsey. Well, Peyton Ramsey is now the Northwestern starting quarterback, apparently having beaten out Hunter Johnson for the starting job there. Peyton Ramsey had a nice 68% completion percentage his final year at IU. All right, interesting game there. Maryland, Northwestern. And finally, we've got Michigan State and Rutgers. Rutgers a 13-point dog, which may speak to Michigan State's low expectations for Mel Tucker in his first year there. Who's going to be the quarterback for Michigan State? Now, Rocky Lombardi's got the experience, but it's a pretty shoddy experience. 175 pass attempts in 16 games, 3 starts, only completing 43% of his passes, 3 touchdowns, and 5 picks. So you've got Peyton Thorne. He seems to be the favorite in terms of the fan favorite for Michigan State, but he's taken 0 snaps at this level. 26th rated dual threat quarterback in 2019. In a list of dual threat quarterbacks that went down the list on the 247 Sports Composite, it was not impressive. What was impressive was the quarterbacks listed with Theo Day's 2018 pro list, pro-style quarterbacks. He was number 9, so it's between Day, Lombardi, and Thorne. And the last heard out of Mel Tucker, he was not committal on this decision. So we may find out in the next couple of days who the Michigan State starting quarterback is. I believe it's going to be Peyton Thorne. Noah Vedral, transferring from Nebraska to Rutgers, will be the Scarlet Knights starting quarterback for a team that has to get better offensively. It's just almost impossible for them to be worse. They only threw for 57 yards in this game and 140 total yards, as Michigan State won at 27-0. It's Greg Schiano's second go-around at Rutgers, and of course, he led this program to its highest heights all time, going back to the prehistoric days of college football, and Rutgers, of course, participating in the very first college football game ever. There we have it for week 1 in the Big Ten. We're glad to have the conference back. The Pac-12 is the only one on the sideline, and they get it going the first week of November. Give us your thoughts right here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. And, of course, like, comment, share the videos on social media, and subscribe.